What's up?
How are you?
I'm good.
Good. For the benefit of anybody listening or watching this is episode 1 of a podcast. Today I'm sitting down with the elusive coach Glen, just to talk about stuff and things really. So Glen, what do you want to talk about today?
Today we're going to talk about scaling for life.
So what does that mean to you?
So basically like coming into the gym to compete your CrossFit class and putting yourself into a category that is basically you scaling the movements and avoiding progression.
Okay, sure. I think that's a really, really important topic to talk about, especially with when you touch on different kinds of programming on the market as well. So in terms of categorizing yourself, do you want to talk a bit about kind of what exactly you mean by that and give maybe some examples of what people can do to avoid falling into that trap, as it were?
Yeah. Well,
if it is a trap.
Yeah, so basically like obviously like for example the programming in which we use, it gives us the workout and then it gives us like our level 1 and our level 2, and it's just people identifying like this. For instance, they're seeing pull-ups and they're going, well, I can't do pull-ups, so I do ring rows. So that's like they're using the ring row to tick a box so that they can finish the workout or partake in the workout, and that's how they identify. And the problem being is that is effectively, although it is a progression, if you do it for too long, you're not going to progress to maybe achieve the pull-up, which is effectively the goal. I mean, we're all aiming to hopefully aim for that RX, and it's just looking at the difference of scaling to say I've done the workout or progressing.
Sure. So obviously progress is the thing that we're looking for the most, as both as coaches, but also I suppose as athletes. In the grander scheme, it should be about, am I making progress today? In terms of kind of completing the workout, why do you think so many people are kind of striving for that over actually making progress with skills?
I think a little bit of the problem is people see the workout and that's like their test for the day, and they're not treating the workout as a training time. They're treating it as like the finals, or as if this is being judged, or as if this means something. But unless we're looking at a hero WOD or a benchmark or competing in a competition, these workouts should be treated as training, opposed to trying to finish them, to tick a box. So again, on the pull-ups, it's people going, I need to come in and practice my pull-ups on the weekend so I can do them in the WODs. It's like, well, if we use a progression throughout the WOD, we can practice today or we can practice tomorrow in the workout, opposed to going, I can't do it yet, so I need to substitute it.
Sure. Okay, so is that a trap that you've ever fallen into before when you started CrossFit?
Yeah, and I definitely still have things that I identify with when there's a movement I can't do, and I'm used to being able to complete a workout in RX, or as prescribed, and I'm like, I can't hit that movement as it's prescribed. I'm gonna sub it out for something else that I can do, opposed to thinking no, put my time in, scale it back. Or opposed to substituting it and work on progression, so one day that I can do it, opposed to avoiding it. Because we're humans, we like to be comfortable, and sometimes progressions put us outside of our comfort zone, and we're like, I've got 20 minutes, I've got to get this workout done, I can't do that part of it, so I'm going to do something completely different, or I justify it being similar enough that I tick the box.
Sure. So if we use today's workout as an example, so today's workout obviously has quite high volume, strict ring dips in.
Yeah.
Now, for the everyday athlete, strict ring dips are probably going to be something at that volume, so 15 for the men, 10 for the women. That's probably going to be a bit too much volume that many everyday athletes are capable of doing. It's a bit that bridge too far, as it were. So presumably what you're saying now is that instead of kind of just avoiding it altogether and scaling back to something like knee push-ups, for example, something like a completely different movement, and then avoiding it, we should be looking at modifying or scaling the movement back to a regression of what the prescribed movement is. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So it might be that, it's quite a big volume of dips throughout, and it's asking for strict. So a progression to our strict would be like our kipping. So we'd go back to that. We could also go to a band, but we just need to be careful with bands that we don't go grab the fattest one out and we start knocking out these reps. We need to find that threshold where we are still progressing. So we're still putting enough overload on our body. So I think great if you could stay on the rings. It's going to keep the stimulus what we're after. It's just finding that threshold where it's hard enough that we will progress. So it could be even being multiple rounds that we start out with, a band, and then in the later rounds it's like triceps are gone, the chest is gone. I need to now substitute to something a bit easier.
Yeah.
It's just opposed to like looking at the board and being like, oh no, L1 suggests this, so boom, that's me.
Yeah, sure. So I'm kind of reading between the lines here. Obviously, you and I spoke about this prior to recording. Do you think maybe a better solution that you could use for the categories is more like the coach using those categories just to get a benchmark? Is that what you?
I believe that the scaling categories, with that, are more a benefit to the coach. And I think with developing a relationship with your coach and getting an understanding, you providing them the information of where you're at, them having information of where you're at, they could suggest how you would then scale back the workouts. Just opposed to you being, because it may be somewhere between one of the options and the RX. So your option may not be written on the board. So opposed to you coming in and being like, this is me and this is me, or I do this instead of this. Hey coach, I struggle a little bit with my ring dips. I know I can get 3 or 4, and then I really struggle after that. What would you suggest? Opposed to seeing in the L1 or the L2 box dips, that's me.
Yeah. I think certainly from having spoken to typically newer athletes, when they look at the whiteboard and see L1 or L2, even sometimes if we were to throw in an L3 or an RX, a plus option, people will look at the whiteboard and fall into that that trap of almost starting to resent the sport, or even worse, resenting the specific gym purely because the options given to them are not something they're capable of doing at that point. So if somebody with absolutely zero CrossFit experience, for example, or somebody that has never trained before comes into the gym and sees that the L1 version of a strict ring dip was a box dip, but let's say, for example, even with support from legs, they're lacking any real tricep strength there, it's easy to kind of look at this sport and say, you know what, this isn't for me because this doesn't cater for somebody that doesn't know what they're doing. It's too intense. Do you think that kind of contributes to why CrossFit has, in some ways, a bit of a tarnished reputation of being too intense?
Yeah, I guess when I explain CrossFit to people and what we do, I say it's not what you see on TV. It's definitely a sport which is for everybody. And even in a class of 10, although there's the prescribed workout on the board, those 10 people may do a completely different workout.
Yeah.
There may be no 2 people in the room doing the same thing. We're ideally using that prescribed workout as our recipe. And then that could vary from there. When the time cap comes or when they finish their workout, we hope to have achieved the same result, although it's different, for different people. The thing with the programming is you've got someone sitting over the other side of the world, writes this program and sends it out to the masses based off a generalized CrossFit community. Then it's up to us to adapt that to a great experienced CrossFitter, an intermediate CrossFitter, a beginner CrossFitter, someone that's never CrossFitted before in their life, someone with injury. So this is like the workout is our base, and then we branch out from there. So yeah, that sort of goes on to another topic, but like me saying like, what's your RX? What's your workout for the day? And yeah, the program's trying to cater to people that come every single day of the week or 3 days a week, and it's also trying to cater to a drop-in so they get a great workout. So yeah, it does definitely put that like, I need to be fitter to go to CrossFit,
yeah,
but and those sort of terms, but I think it is for everybody, and that's obviously up to the coach to unpack that and portray that to the
Sure.
new members and uncultured in it.
Absolutely. So obviously one of the things you and I have in common is that we've both previously been, well, you've previously been a facility owner, an affiliate owner. Obviously I'm here at Ultra. You used Mayhem, correct?
Yeah, we did use Mayhem, yeah.
And obviously we use Proven here. So I think one thing you touched on there about obviously the program is trying to cater for everybody is complete respect to any organisation selling programming in that they're trying to cater for every single affiliate across the globe. Yeah. So, you know, it's almost like you mentioned with the recipe, here is the generic recipe for flapjacks, but we're going to have to alter it based on dietary needs. It's kind of the same. So I think certainly, you know, it is up to the coach to unpack that. Now, if we look at programming in particular with regards to kind of scaling movements or kind of skill development, just to touch on this, do you think that there needs to be a greater emphasis on skill development in the workout of the day?
I think once, yeah, so like I was saying, like it's more the parts of the workout in which you struggle with or you're not sort of meeting what your goal is. I think that's where we would want to substitute for a development or a progression. So, but with this, in the same token is, I often will say the workout's not the time to learn a new skill.
Yeah.
So, it's not like, hey, you haven't handstand push-up before. Well, good news in the workout today, there's 5 rounds and there's 25 in each round, so you'll be able to learn that.
Yeah.
So as far as like learning a skill, sometimes the WOD isn't the best place to do that because of the high intensity that we kind of end up putting on ourselves or encouraging. So I think a lot of that skill development needs to be done under a controlled environment with eyes and supports and things like that. But I think it's more about finding stimulus. So say the handstand push-up, so a seated press or a push-up, but how would that be a progression towards the handstand push-up? Yeah.
So more kind of towards the education of not just explaining to the athlete, but almost helping the athlete understand that a seated dumbbell press, for example, is going to help you with your handstand push-up because X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why am I doing this and why do they get to kick up on the wall?
Yeah, because obviously having been in some of your classes and obviously been just being around the gym all the time, like I can see that, you know, the dumbbell presses, for example, is one of your kind of go-to progressions or regressions for a handstand push-up. It's really good to kind of, you can incorporate some slightly different equipment that maybe a member is more comfortable with. Like a handstand push-up, for example. Just kick up into a handstand. If you've never done that before, it's terrifying.
Oh yeah, 100%, yeah.
It's absolutely terrifying. So it's kind of bringing that comfort back into play.
Yeah.
Okay then, so just to kind of some final points then, final discussion points. With regards to choosing your RX, what's your biggest tip to any athlete that comes through our doors today to attack any workout?
Well, I would just think about, like, as far as goals, like, what do you want to achieve? So if you see a movement that's out of your reach, but that's something you would like to achieve, I would be telling your coach that, like, hey Glenn, I haven't got the pull-up yet, but I really want to see this workout's chock full of them. What should I be doing instead of the pull-up so that I'm one step closer?
Yeah.
And yeah, picking the parts of the workout that maybe you can RX or you can push yourself or you are good at, and then make sure that, we're utilizing the workout of the day as training opposed to a test.
Yeah.
How is this workout of the day going to make us better for workouts to come? Opposed to, this is me today, I need to finish this as fast as possible so I can write the score up on the board.
Absolutely. So treating it as training as opposed to seeing it as being the CrossFit Games final event, where you got a chance of podiuming. I think you know, I've fallen into that trap heaps of times. I'm sure you probably did when you were getting into the sport. But I think ultimately, kind of the point I'm going to make there is this can't be the test if there's no training prior to that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's like if the test is the workout of the day in the affiliate gym, then ultimately all you are doing is test after test after test, and there's no groundwork being put in. Is that?
Yeah, it's not training. We're
Yeah.
just testing. So yeah.
Awesome, cool. Well, thanks for that, Glenn. Guys, if you are unsure about anything that we've just talked about, please feel free to have a chat with us, whether that is about setting goals. Any final points or comments to make, Glenn, about anything?
No, just think about goals. Yeah, like you say, goals, and how are we progressing in the sport?
Yep.
How are we working towards those goals?
Awesome, cool. Thank you very much.
Sweet.
Talk to you soon.